All right, everybody, here we go. It's Ryan here at the Trawf, getting ready to start making dinner. As I mentioned earlier on my Instagram feed, we're going to be doing peach cobbler out here on the Big Green Egg. And then when that's off, we're going to throw a spatchcock chicken on there over the top of some Yukon Gold potatoes. So this is really going to be good. So we'll get started with the peach cobbler. I've got a few things together already, and I'll show you how we're going to do the rest of it. All right, so you certainly can't have a peach cobbler without peaches. And so I went ahead and picked up a couple pounds of peaches this morning. We're going to be looking to get about 3 cups sliced up. In the bowl, I've got 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a little bit of salt. And I've got that whisked together. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of milk once we get the butter melted. The butter is going to be melted directly into a cast iron skillet, 1 stick. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on the Big Green Egg and get that butter melted down. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get our peaches cut. These peaches aren't super ripe, and they're not acting like freestone peaches, so I can't get them off of the stone like that. So what I'm going to do is treat them more like a mango. We're going to just cut down around the pit. Make them into thin slices and add them to the pot.
Guys.
All right, so there we go. We got our 3 cups of peaches cut up, and we got our dry mix. Now we're going to go back to the dry mix that we had here before. And we're going to go ahead and whisk in 1 cup of milk. All right, once we have that whisked in, like a thin pancake batter consistency, we've got our skillet here with 1 stick of melted butter. We're going to pour our pancake or our batter right into the skillet. And then we'll just sprinkle the peaches all around. So there we go. We've got a 375-degree egg. We'll pop this directly in, and should be about 30 minutes. All right, so we have our dessert already cooking on the egg over here, and we're gonna go ahead and get started by prepping the chicken. As I mentioned to, or alluded to earlier, we are going to be doing this chicken over the top of some potatoes. And so the way I'm going to do this chicken, if you don't have a rotisserie, this really is the secret to grilling a chicken that tastes as good as a rotisserie, and it's really quite quick. So we're going to begin by prepping this chicken. This is about a 6.5 pound bird. So we're going to go ahead and trim off some of this extra fat. And what you want to look for when you're going to spatchcock a chicken is you want to flip it over, get breast side down, so the backbone is located here on top. I find the easiest way to do this is with a kitchen shears, and you just cut right alongside the backbone. All right, so as you can see, at that point, the bird opens up nicely. So we can take our knife and just finish cleaning up some of this really extraneous fat. And if you look right down in here, if you follow the center of the breastbone up, you can see this little bit of cartilage right up here at the point. So what I learned to do is just nick that with your knife. Then when you pry the chicken open, flip it over on its back, give it a press, and it'll crack open. When it does that, it will lay very flat on the grill and will allow this bird to cook extremely evenly. Okay? So here we go. We've got this all set, ready to go. The next step, I've already rinsed it off coming out of its packaging, but you want this bird to be extremely dry. So you take some paper towels, make sure there's no residual blood. Remember, we're cooking this over the top of the potatoes, so we want this, take an extra minute here and get this nice and clean. All right, I like that. Flip it back over, breast side up. All right, now we've got our skin nice and dried off. We're gonna take just a little bit of softened butter, and we're gonna rub that all over the whole entire chicken. All right, this is gonna help aid in getting that skin totally crispy. Okay, we've got it all buttered up. Finally, we're gonna go ahead and season it up. And today we're gonna be using Frag Out Flavor Combat Canary. This is a fried chicken seasoning, and I think this is gonna work really well on there. So we'll go ahead and season it up. And that's really it for prepping the chicken. So we go ahead and get this ready and put this off to the side, and we'll start working on our potatoes. Okay, so for our potatoes, I opted to go with these really great little Yukon Gold potatoes. They're so simple. They come in a small bag that's just about the right size for our family. They're pre-washed, they're ready to grow, they're tender, buttery, really, really great. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those into a foil tin and cover them up with a fairly decent dosing of olive oil. And we're gonna wanna toss those around a little bit. Okay. Earlier, I also chopped up 1 onion. I did it in these larger pieces like this because my kids don't like to eat them. And so this way we'll be able to selectively pick those out of the dish for them. I'll put the onions on top. We're gonna sprinkle it with some kosher salt and black pepper. Just make sure everything is nice and tossed in the oil. And lastly, for a little bit of additional flavor, you might have seen me use this recently on some green beans on the Blackstone. The flavor is really great. This is Ranch Ranger from Frag Out Flavor. And we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle some of this over top of these potatoes. One more quick mix. And there we go. Now we've got everything set. We'll go ahead and put this on the bottom layer underneath our chicken. And as the chicken starts to cook, it'll allow some of its delicious juice to come down into these potatoes and flavor them even more. So we've only got a short time left before we get the peach cobbler off the egg, and then we'll get started with dinner. All right, everybody. So it's been about 35 minutes, and let's take a look and see how this peach cobbler is coming around. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a toothpick and just check. Nice and clean. Just what we'd expect. Let's get that off of there and start making our chicken. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get back to all of the food that we had prepped earlier, now that dessert is done. And we'll go ahead and get the potatoes and the chicken on the grill here. So there we go, we got that chicken, it's all seasoned up, and the potatoes sitting underneath it. Now we'll let it rest. This should take about 45 minutes. All right, everybody, well, it took a little longer than I thought, but I guess that's what I get for buying a 6.5 pound bird. Anyways, it seems like it's done now. Checked it with the thermometer, right around 165 or so at the breast meat, so that should work out just fine. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got. Yeah, that looks like something I want to eat. Those potatoes underneath. All right, let's go ahead and get this bird off. I'm going to finish the potatoes with some butter and a little bit of parsley. All right, so remember, these potatoes were seasoned up with Ranch Ranger from Frag Out Flavor. Did them over underneath the chicken with some onions. Polish them up with a little bit of butter, and that should do it. All right, well, Sunday supper's in the books, and just getting ready to have some dessert here. I made that scratch peach cobbler in a cast iron skillet, and I'll tell you what, cooking that thing on the egg, it was so simple. Just a few simple ingredients. I'll put the link to the book down below, and I just want to give this a try and see how it goes. Peach cobbler and a little vanilla ice cream. Wow, that's really good. Fresh, really creamy. The cobbler part is really simple. Just a few quick ingredients that everybody has in their pantry. So give that one a try. It's a great way to wrap up a meal, especially you can put that on the big green egg, pull it off, it'll stay warm while you cook up most dinners. The chicken, I seasoned that up with Frag Out Flavor and used their fried chicken seasoning on that with a little butter underneath it. It was just powerful flavor on there. It really came together nice. And then cooking it over top of those Yukon Gold potatoes with a little ranch seasoning from Frag Out Flavor and a little butter, and then just the juice from the chickens dripping right in there. Really came together. I'm telling you, this was a really good supper. Took a little longer than I expected, bigger bird than I usually buy. All that means is I got plenty of leftovers to get me through the week. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, hit the subscribe button and ring that notifications bell. We want to keep you posted as we come out with new content. We'd love to hear your comments down below if you've tried these or some of our other recipes, or if you have suggestions. Right now it's Sunday night. I got to finish up my dessert. We got to get the kids cleaned up and ready for another week. So thanks you all for watching, and appreciate it. This is Ryan from the Trawf. Have a good night.